Hello, I'm Scott Jorgens from Endeavor Solutions. We're now rebranding as Endeavor4. So welcome to Endeavor4. Today's presentation, we're going to be talking about Jet Reports and have some great guests from Insight Software, the makers of Jet Reports, being Brian and Karia. We'll have introductions to them momentarily. Business Central has changed its logo. So back in 2018 when first launched, and then evolved in 2021. We have a brand new logo from Microsoft as of 2026. It's supposed to be more of a softer, all-in cloud um, stylized logo for us. As well as I mentioned at the intro, Endeavor Solutions is doing some rebranding, pulling together a lot of our counterparts across Canada and the United States that we've been growing through merger and acquisition and continuing to service. We're now up to 1,200 clients across North America. Thank you for your business. And the new logo going forward is going to be Endeavor 4. Four core values: knowledge, integrity, trust, and accountability. Obviously, a lot of thought has gone into it, and these are key values that our consultants share as we continue to build and mature our internal culture and obviously work with you as our clients today. Anyone watching the recording, thank you very much for joining us as well. So our agenda, why we love Jet Reports, what's new, and get basing into a live showcase, a few tips and tricks along the way. So Endeavor Solutions and Endeavor 4, why we love Jet Reports. We've been recommending Jet to just about every one of our Business Central clients. There's a lot of value in Jet Reports. It's an affordable tool set. It provides a lot of the custom reporting, custom dashboards, and analytics beyond the core functions within Business Central. We love it also that it connects into the financial reporting, but also to non-financial. So all the information that is with Business Central can be exposed and accessed with Jet Reports. So we get into manufacturing, production orders, supply chain, and other components, even into some of the HR and payroll if you're using specific third-party add-ons within Business Central. Ease of use, you guys can read on the screen. And really, we just want to get into showcasing it. And I think it will talk to itself. Available for Dynamics GP, available for Business Central. Today we're talking about Business Central. If you do have aspirations to move from Dynamics GP to Business Central, Jet Reports is a tool that you can bring with you. And that's one less thing for your users to learn a new tool and also help you bridge some of the gaps and get better reporting starting today. So, Brian, why don't I transfer it over to you?
So I am sharing my screen now. So
I can see it.
everyone, thank you, Scott. So everyone, as Scott keenly called out, a huge thank you to those of us who are attending today. And then also, of course, thank you to the Endeavor team as a whole, right, for being a trusted Jet product partner for well over the past 10 years or so, right? Their team has a huge wealth of knowledge with this product to really ensure that our mutual and their current ERP clients have what's needed to get the most value, right, regarding having a tool that allows you all to get the most out of your reporting. So today, I want to start off by giving us an introduction or a reintroduction to Jet Reports, the star of our Microsoft product suite. And then I'll be passing it over to my senior solutions engineer, Karia Collins, to walk us through what some of these new updates are. And then we're going to see what those look like in action. So I want to start by giving us a brief background on what Jet Reports is. Scott Gray gave a lot of great points, but I want to give us a lot of the history as well, everyone. So Jet's been around for about the past 20 years or so. And at its core, y'all, Jet Reports is designed to do one very simple but very powerful thing, and that's bring your live Dynamics data directly into Excel, both desktop and Excel Online, but in a way that's fast, reliable, and easy for finance teams to own themselves, right? So team, as Scott called out, your team is working in Excel every day amongst your finance crew. So instead of learning a new reporting tool or relying on IT, your team can continue leveraging the skills that they have built, right, to build financial and operational reports that literally refresh with a single click. So no more manual data exports, right? No more version control issues and no more delays on waiting on custom developments. And what's especially important today and how Jet continues to evolve is that it evolves right alongside Microsoft. So as organizations like many of you on this call are moving their ERP workloads to Business Central and the cloud, Jet is fully aligned with Microsoft's roadmap, so supporting modern Excel experience, secure cloud connectivity, and of course, right, scalable reporting that grows with you and your team. So you simply just build a report once, as you'll see with Kyria. It stays connected to your live Dynamics data, and it also uses your environment changes, right? So any new entities, new reporting needs, or more users, Jet's going to be able to scale with you without disrupting you with your team is already working on. So with that in mind, I'd like to turn it over to Karia again so that we can walk through some of these newer Jet enhancement updates that we've begun to roll out, and then more importantly, how they tie directly into Microsoft's cloud direction and what that means for your team moving forward. So at that point, Karia, do you want to go ahead and take over the screen, my friend?
Okay. So let's first start off with just simply speaking on some improvements around Jet reports and speed. I know speed is on our minds all the time. We want to get the latest and greatest of the reports that we're building, and so let's speak to it. With Jet reports, we've done a series of studies with our telemetry. This is live data from our customers, and it's reporting on Jet reports version 24.1 and higher. And so as you're using Jet, you're using a real-time Business Central Cloud connection. And so this isn't a lab benchmark or even a cherry-picked demo. This is actual production usage, production data that you're working with. And so we found within our telemetry that 80% of reports are being run in under 15 seconds. So that's 4 out of 5 reports finishing in lightning speed time. So that means daily operational reports feel instant. There's no need to stop or take a coffee break in between. You can run and get those latest results. We also see that about 92% of reports are being run in under 1 minute. So this is kind of where I think of month-end reviews, departmental reporting, ad hoc analysis. It stops being disruptive there because we've got that speed installed. And then as we keep going through the ranks, 99% of our reports running in under 15 minutes. This is for the outliers, large historical data pulls, consolidation, heavy joins. We're still competing reliably, so no timeouts, no crashes. This matters because speed isn't about impatience, it's about confidence. So these performance gains, they're not accidental. These are why we encourage our BC users to always be on the latest version. Now, if you're thinking about transitioning to BC and using Jet reports, you're going to get that latest version. You're going to get that report being run in less than a minute. And so for those users who are currently working with Jet reports and on older versions, we heavily encourage you to upgrade. When you're upgrading, it's going to unlock optimized BC Cloud connectivity. Those newer versions are tuned specifically for Business Central Cloud APIs. Older versions weren't always designed for that scale or concurrency with our customers and what they're running today. Also, with those latest upgrades, you've got smarter query execution. So 24.1 versions and more introduce more efficiency query handling, caching behavior, and also background execution, which is why you're going to see such consistent completion times. And then you've also got that stability at scale. So when you're thinking of speed, you should be thinking about Jet reports and getting on that latest version of Jet because it's about making reports simple, predictable, fast, and reliable. Next, let's talk about some new features around Jet. Let's talk about what we've unveiled. So one of those first things when I think of new features, I think of Jet Report Center. Jet Report Center Online is an upgraded cloud reports repository where you can store, you can schedule, you can share, you can collaborate all of your Jet reports and even now Power BI reports in one place in the cloud. We're going to take a look at that today in my live demo portion in just a moment. We also have Jet reports for Excel Online. Excel is still the language of finance, and Jet wants to meet teams exactly where they already are working. The Jet add-in lets users stay in Excel Online, but also you can still keep desktop while pulling live governed data instead of static reports. So you've got the same Excel, you've got more mobility and less risk. Next, we have Jet Reports Fabric. This is where Jet starts to go beyond finance. Jet can push and consume data through Fabric as well as OneLake, which means finance data is no longer being siloed. It's becoming a broader part of your analytics, AI, and reporting ecosystem, and we're allowing that the same way you connect to BC. Lastly, we have Report Assist AI integration. This is probably one of the fan favorites. At the core, Jet has a native first-class connection to BC, of course, as we've mentioned. So we're not exporting data, we're not copying tables, or even breaking permissions. And with that, we're adding on top of that Report Assist. And now you're not just reporting, but you're able to ask questions about your data. You're able to get direct context. And you're even able to use the same governed source, and you're able to generate outputs based on all of those previously mentioned. You're also able to learn more about your data on the fly, and you're also able to ask questions around not just your data, but how to use Jet reports more efficiently. And so those are a few of our new product features and enhancements, and we're actually going to have a chance to touch on all of those with our live demonstration here. And I want to first walk through one of our new products, Jet Report Center, and we'll show you in action what that looks like. So I've started here at my welcome screen for Report Center. Again, we're in the cloud, so we will be using a quick connection. All are single sign-on. So again, it's still connected to that Azure environment. Once you log in, you'll be directed to your private workspace. This is where the reports that you've created, the reports that have been shared with you, will be located. Here, you have the ability to upload reports immediately, or you can work with your existing reports. Now with Report Center, you have all the capabilities you would in any management repository system, but this is enabling our Jet users, and we're even going beyond Jet with Power BI. So if I click into one of my reports, I have the ability to download the latest version of that template. Now, if I'm not a Jet user, this is perfect because if I don't have Jet installed in Excel, but I still need access to those reports, I can simply download as an Excel file, and I can work from there with a static report, or I can download as a PDF and start to get an understanding of the report, again, in that static mode. I can open an Excel Online, and I can use Excel Online there. I can schedule, I can even edit that connection. I can share with other users externally or internally. I can manage the ownership if I'm an admin, and I can also publish my data. Let's take a look at what it feels like to upload a report from scratch. So here, if I want to upload a report, I will connect to whichever BC instance I have loaded. If there's a specific company that the data or an entity that the data is connected to, Jet will pick up on that, and you can just select whichever works best for you. And then from there, you can give the report a name. You can give an optional description, and then you'll actually attach that file. And so that file, of course, can live on your local machine, or it can be a file that you have saved in your OneDrive. Once that report has been successfully uploaded, now I have the ability to also schedule my report. Scheduling is very important because you want to make sure that those reports are matching your rhythm of business, and they're also at the time needed. And so I can go in, of course, again, I can give a name, I can give an actual subject, I can give a message. A message is a great option if you are going to be sharing that schedule with other users. I can simply toggle the schedule to be automated, very easy on and off toggle, as well as any notifications around changes to the report schedule. I can add other reports as well, or I can focus on one report at a time. And then here I can actually set my cadence. So reports can be refreshed as frequently as hourly, and then all the way up to monthly and anywhere in between. Let's say maybe we want a daily report to be run. We can choose the date we start on, and then from there we can set that actual refresh time down to the minute. And we can set an end date, or if we want our report to run perpetually, we can toggle that. From here, we can add actual users who will get updates every day, and it'll be set to that exact schedule. They will get that email notification. You can choose as many or as little as you need there. Or you can add groups of users, so groups are just multiple users in a pod that we've set. And so you can simply apply that, and then we hit save. And now you have that schedule for that report to be run at the time needed. Outside of scheduling a report, you also have the ability to integrate Power BI and Power BI data into your Report Center online repository. And so you can upload your Power BI data, whether that's powered by Jet, whether it be, well, we encourage users to power it by Jet, but if you have any other backend data, you can upload that to your Report Center through your business views here. That data will then be connected to your dashboard, and this is a live connection. So I can drill down, I can filter, I can get an idea of where my data sits, I can get the latest updates and insights. And this is great for users who might not necessarily build Power BI reports or manage them, but they still need the ability to access them and just have the latest information. And so again, this is a live data connecting to your Power BI. Next, I want to segue into an actual demonstration. We're going to take a look at a report, a budget versus actuals report. We'll talk through what that report might look like, how you can transform a manual report into an actual automated report here. And so now we're inside of our budget versus actuals by period report. This is one of our many templated and pre-built reports that are available to all users, and it's free on our website to download, and we can drop that link after here in a moment. But this is just one of the many. And when we think of budgets to actuals, we think of sometimes our general ledger. We think of bringing in all of those different accounts that are most relevant to our teams and getting an overview of what that might look like by period. And in this example, we're taking a look at a month-to-month transition of the data. And when we think of creating a manual report, we sometimes think of accidents. Sometimes we copy and paste the wrong cell, or sometimes the formula is incorrect. When we're connecting to Jet, Jet helps to mitigate that. Jet is a, again, live connection to your Dynamics ERP. As we can see here in our ribbon, we're connected to Jet, and so we have that built-in layer of confidence that our data is being imported correctly. So let's take a further look into how this budget versus actual was built. So I'm going to go into my ribbon and I'll go into my design mode. Now design mode is actually going to take me to the back end of my report. And so we're going to take a look at that transition and what it kind of looks like to build. And so as I've switched into design mode, I don't want to turn this into a deep building session, but I do want to show you how Jet works under the hood and why it replaces a ton of manual effort. And so if I start clicking into my cells here, in this very first cell, let's dive deeper into how this was built. When you think of Jet and we think of actual building, if we take a look at our tool belt of tools, I always like to point to my Jet functions here. We have 4 different functions, and when you're thinking of a budget versus actual, especially general ledger based, I'm going to click into that function. And these functions build our cells, and again, this is all data directly imported from our Dynamics environment. And so at the core, Jet is acting as the data engine. Instead of hard-coding values, you'll see Jet formulas dynamically pull those actuals from the GL and the budgets, from the budget tables in your ERP, so BC. And this is what it's doing here. So again, we're pulling in that budget data, we're directing it to a very specific account. We have a start and end date built in. And then we also have our budget name if we have any stored budgets. And of course, our extra data can be filled in. But what's happening here in real time, if we were to go back into our viewer mode, is that Jet is pulling all of those budgets for that start and end date range, and it's caching that data, and anytime we make updates or we make changes, it's automated. So we can simply hit run here and get those final results. And so this is just one cell that pulls many other cells connected to our general ledger. And so next, let's move over here. In this next row, we're actually pulling some of our actual data. We're using, again, a single Jet function tied to that account number, that data range. If we take a look inside of our function, we've got the same structure, but now we're just pulling in those actuals, no copy paste, no exports, no accidentally fat fingering numbers. It's all ready for us. Especially if you're using a pre-built formula, this data is ready to go. And of course, if you have any kind of variance, you can still use any of your native Excel functions or native Excel formulas. So we've got a simple budgets minus actual to get our variance outcome. And so because this report is very parameter driven, things like fiscal period, department, or company, you can control that data at the top here. And so by period, I can change my period type at any time. For this report, I've chosen month. I can also change my date filter. That's also going to be helped and controlled by that financial engine here in our functions. We can see what that looks like. So we're directly tapping into that BC data from the start and the end of the year. And we have, of course, just our timestamp on our run date. And because this report, again, is parameter driven, let's actually run this report again and kind of show you what that output looks like. When I hit run, I'm always going to get what's called a report option. And a report option is essentially just a way to change the filtering on the report. And so I can change my month, I can change the account numbers that I'm pulling, I can change the budget name that I've been directed to, or even the period type. I'm also hiding any accounts with a zero balance. I want to see my bold numbers. So when I go and I hit run, I have that final output. And so I've got my trusted ERP data all in one spot within Excel, so you can keep full control of formatting, logic, without having to rebuild a report every month. And so that's a bit on a budget to actual example and kind of what that back end to front end looks like. And so from there, that would probably conclude my end of the demo. Brian, I'll hand it back to you for next steps.
Thank you, Karia. And I'm going to share my screen again and go right back to that simple screen because I do want to reiterate a very, very important point. And essentially, everyone, that point is, and just sharing the screen for aesthetic, but that point is, right, if you are net new to Jet Reports and you are already using Jet Reports, you're going to be provisioned on the Insight software platform right out of the bat. So again, you're going to have the latest and the greatest immediately. If you are indeed a legacy user of Jet, again, that path is just as straightforward, but just reiterating that we will want to connect with you so that we can review your current setup and then talk through transitioning from the legacy Jet portal over to the Insight software platform. And for our current users that are currently using Jet Reports on that legacy portal, the Jet Hub may ring a bell to you, right? And it had very low utilization. That's the beauty of the Jet Report Center, is that it's being hosted by us, right? So as you all are transitioning to the cloud, there's no need to have that local server around to handle something like the Jet Hub. Again, the Jet Report Center is going to be hosted by us, right? And that's one of the things that we want to have that sit-down account review. Again, review your current setup and then talk through that transition from going to the legacy Jet portal to the new Insight software platform. So again, that next best step is going to be to get with your Endeavor point of contact and then they're going to loop me in, and then again, we can schedule a deeper dive demo so that we can see more. We can talk about tips and tricks, how they translate to the new platform. And then, of course, importantly, we can do a account review with your team to walk through those things like timing, impact, and really ensure that you're getting the most value out of the Insight software platform and the transition to it. So with that said, I will hand it back over to the Endeavor team so that they can share a bit more about their team, and then we'll open things up for Q&A before we wrap things up. Appreciate you, everyone.
Yep, sounds good. There we go. So we just wanted to get closer to the wrap-up of who is Endeavor4. We're now 170 consultants across Canada and the United States, 1,200 plus clients, pushing 1,500 very soon, and obviously lots of awards and credentials. Everyone, we're here today to be talking about Business Central and the JET reports. So as Brian said, one of our next steps is to talk and review your JET reports implementation, and when you come up for your annual renewal, looking at the new cloud-based version that is the same JET reports that's working in Excel and with Business Central, but is complemented with this larger cloud options for that report sharing and connections. We used to have 3 buckets. Now we have 4 buckets because it's Endeavor4, AI and advisory, and then we've split up our implementation and support into 2 teams, our enterprise team and our mid-market and SMB team. Business Central belongs in the mid-market and SMB. And then we also have a variety of specialty cloud applications across unique industries. Obviously, ongoing long-term support, sustainment, helping you get the most out of your Microsoft business applications. And as I mentioned earlier, our 4 core values: knowledge, integrity, trust, and accountability. All the certifications you would expect and hope for, those that are in GP, obviously moving you up to Business Central, but the core is the depth and breadth that we have within our team. Given our size, we're large enough to have all of the depth and breadth that you would hope and expect from a partner. And let's get into a little bit of Q&A. We were talking about some tips and tricks. Let's put Karya on the spot. And for those that are on the line that are currently using JET reports, anything on your wish list that you'd like to try and explore?
Yes, please let us know.
I think one question just came through.
Yeah.
I see, do you have training videos or training documentation for JET reports? Absolutely. This is something that we pride ourselves on. We have hundreds of different articles and links, and actually I think I can answer in the chat bot. I'll set a link for our documentation for JET reports on our Insight4 website.
And I also see that Rachel has a question. Can you touch on the AI piece? Kari, would you mind just kind of walking through those quickly again?
Absolutely. So when it comes to AI, it's embedded in our JET reports ribbon. And so it's formerly called Lineos. And you'll see that Lineos button in the JET reports ribbon if you're on the latest version and you're using BC Cloud. And so we really like to focus on Report Assist. That's where the most excitement comes in, so I'll start there. But essentially, JET Report Assist is where you can prompt the AI with a question. So that question may be, for example, how many vendors did I work with in the month of December? You'll enter that prompt, and then Lineos will then generate an answer in the format of a report. So it might give you a table with all of those different records for how many different vendors you've worked with, or if you want to rank vendors, it will generate that final report. Or if you'd like to build a P&L, it will generate that P&L based on the timeline that you prompt, as well as with the different accounts that you request to be pulled. And so that's one piece. And then we have 2 other pieces. So we have another tool within Lineos called Data Assist. Data Assist will help essentially provide a second set of eyes. You can highlight pieces to a report or a certain cell, and it will generate an analysis on that data. It'll prompt any kind of anomaly detection, as well as any kind of improvements around the report that you've built for, mostly improvement. And then the last piece to Lineos and the AI features would be our chatbot, where you can ask any question around Jet Reports, how it works, the different features and tools, and it will generate answers in the format of different links, articles, videos, blog posts, and you're able to actually interact and chat around those different topics within Lineos. So hopefully that answers your question.
Hassan, I see your comment in the meeting chat. Yes, Jet Reports has significantly improved the speed. Kari, you want to talk about that, or Brian? I remember seeing even presentations last year where stuff was going 50% faster and then even faster and faster.
For sure. Kari, do you want to re-share that screen? I think we touched on that portion in the beginning of the webinar. So Hassan, please take a moment to review that beginning. But yes, we can definitely re-pull that screen up and kind of talk about what those speed updates are. Kari, if you want to bring that up, please.
Absolutely. So when it comes to the speed of Jet Reports, we've worked on a few different things, but the key that we found with a lot of our users is making sure that they're on the latest version, specifically Jet Reports versions 24.1 and higher. And so what this has done, we've implemented cell cache optimization on the back end. Now that's something that you won't see. That's of course something that we've made an improvement in on the back end for our users, but essentially what it does is it caches the data in a more efficient manner, and so when you're running your reports, it's going to go back, and whether it's a historical data pull or it is an ad hoc query, you're going to be able to cache some of that data, and then as you continue to make those runs, it's just going to get faster and faster. And again, 80% of all those reports, as long as you're on that Jet Reports version 24.1 or higher, they're running in under 15 seconds. And so we've really worked to master this, and we've really worked with also updating our APIs. When you're working in BC Cloud, one of our primary ways of connection and most common connection is through APIs, and so we worked on that relationship and building more efficient APIs. And so again, that's something that as a user, you don't have to make any changes around. You just need to make sure that you're on that latest version of Jet Reports. And updating is very easy. It's just a click of a button.
And that same answer applies, Hassan, to your mention about the BC connection errors that you may have received in the past. It is very, very, very pivotal, all pun intended, and important that you remain on the latest updates to stop any errors or connection issues. Our support team has found out that about 90% of the errors that were reported is because that current end user is not updated on the latest version. So as Kari mentioned, it is very easy. It is right there in the Jet ribbon to the top right, where you can go through and prompt to do the latest update version there. So that applies for that question in the chat box as well. Any other questions, guys? These are great questions.
Karia, can you share your screen and show us where that button is?
Anytime that you need an update, the button will automatically show. And so I'm in my Jet Reports ribbon here, and if we go to, it's typically under either settings, you'll see it'll add that option to update.
Okay. So go to settings, look for a third box that says update, and then it's automatically going to update. Any involvement in IT, or it just magically goes out to the cloud, pulls it back down?
So you still have to click the button. So you still have to click upgrade, and then it'll upload that package to your downloads. You'll open up that package, you'll hit run, and then it'll overwrite to the newest settings within Jet. So just takes 5 minutes. Yep.
Another question, how easy it is to change the data model? For example, adding a budget to be pulled from Business Central.
Yeah, so when it comes to mapping your data, if you have a new data model and let's say you've changed it in BC and now you want to see that reflected in your report, you can go into your report, and as long as it's a filter, you can change out the name of the filter, and you can also just change out the header of that column or that row. And then once you hit run, you should see that latest upgrade. Again, it can get a little bit dicier, so if you have specific questions, again, you can reach out to Scott or Brian, and then we can schedule a call and take a look. But that, if I had to keep it as simple as possible, that's what it would be.
Great. And obviously, the Endeavor support desk understands all the mapping and where your data may be hiding, especially if you're using additional extensions or where you're trying to pull pull data from. There's Base Business Central, but then you add in extensions that has some extra tables where maybe having some additional information. Very easy to access. You just need to know where to find it. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. Why don't I finish off with just back to our screen. Thank you for attending today. Thank you for the great question and answers. And thank you for your business. We're here to help you get the most out of your systems and make all your business applications work for you. If there's any other questions, feel free to find us online, reach out to the Endeavor support desk, and we're here to help as always.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great one.